What's going on, everybody? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Let's cut the music because it has been a crazy week. I am here with Ted Czech. You're listening to Evil Intoxicated. We do the show every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. sharp. Well, I shouldn't say sharp because it is now 10:11 p.m. But the
and
live
today's
stream.
Thursday, Eddie. Today's
Thursday. We'll be getting to that and much more. We'll explain ourselves. So make sure you guys subscribe down below. Subscribe to Ted's channel. We're going to do proper introductions right now. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. We keep you guys updated on everything going on in MMA world. We just got our newest MMA journalist, Ted, Kate, who actually just wrote an amazing article about Ronda. We're going to get into that conversation and much more. The new podcast is going to drop by the end of this episode if it hasn't already. My boss just messaged me. So make sure you guys check out ProWrestlingAuthority.com. You're listening to Evil Intoxicated. That's Ted Czech. Ted, you want to introduce yourself to our new listeners?
Yeah, I'm Ted Czech, T-E-D-C-Z-E-C-H, like the Czech Republic. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I do lots of videos every week on the latest MMA news, give you my opinion for what it's worth. Usually it's not worth a pot to piss in, but I give you my opinion anyway, and then ask for yours. And so I love when people leave comments. I try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. And I hooked up with Eddie a couple weeks ago, and we got this show going here, and it's been going great, I think, so far. And so I look forward to hopefully we get some comments tonight.
Yeah,
because last time we did it was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Last time, just to remind everyone, we found out John Bones Jones was pulled off a UFC 200, and we actually were able to film our live reactions. So yeah, we actually have that posted down below. Thank you to Minion McGregor, who is now part of the new Pure Evil Army. I'm sure he'll be joining us at some point tonight. So here we go, Ted.
Yeah.
What a crazy week, man. Let's start it off. RDA versus Eddie Alvarez was the first night of fights. Were you able to catch that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I just got to tell you, Eddie. First of all, I'm just now kind of coming down from the high that was the fight week. I mean, my God, 3 events in 3 days, culminating with UFC 200. Then we had a little bit of a lull, and then Fight Night 91 last night. So yeah, it's just been. The words aren't coming out of my mouth.
It's
know
because. And you know what? I thought it was pretty smart of Dana White and everyone to announce the sale of the UFC Monday morning when we're all like, oh, you know what I mean?
Right. So it's like you got into this little bit of a valley.
No fight left in us.
Right. I can still go a couple of rounds. Yeah.
So RDA versus Eddie Alvarez. Congratulations to the new king. Were you able to catch that fight?
I saw the fight. Absolutely. I mean, it didn't. I predicted that Eddie was going to win, but it just didn't go down the way I thought it was going to. Because Eddie had his past couple fights, he kind of molded himself into this pressure wrestler kind of guy. And I thought, oh well, that's going to be the antidote to RDA. That's going to be the kryptonite to RDA. But instead, he just smashed the hell out of him. And I mean, it wasn't that great. So not that I don't like RDA, but it was just great to see Eddie realize a dream. This guy, I don't think everybody realizes this, but the guy's been in the sport almost 15 years. Yeah. He was in, Bodog fight way back when. And then Bellator, he was the champ in Bellator. They molded the company around him. And then he jumped to the UFC. And, for a while there, I was like, I didn't know if this guy was going to really make his mark in the UFC. And I should have never doubted the guy because now he's the champ.
Well, and you even told me, too. You were like, you know what? I really think that Eddie Alvarez is going to take RDA out. And me and a lot of people out there were like, how? How is this going to happen? And then we realized there's only one way that can really happen, is if RDA brought the dog out of Eddie Alvarez. And like you were just saying, we really weren't seeing him do that. We were seeing him play it safe, taking out Pettis, of course. And RDA made the big mistake, and he looked mortal. He looked human. He got rocked, and he did not want to go down either. He put one hell of a fight. Also, Joanna versus Claudia, that came to an end. On the podcast, I played the post-fight speech. Were you able to watch the fight and hear that post-fight speech?
Yeah, I know. Dude, there's been so many fights. I know I watched it. Oh my god, I feel like an idiot. I mean, I watched it, but go ahead, Eddie. You tell everybody what.
All
what
right, well,
you saw.
I was at Lion Fights 30 at Foxwoods Casino, and I will actually be having president of Lion Fights, Scott Kent, on the show this Saturday. I'll be interviewing a couple of the fighters as well. I just talked to Scott Zur, who's the PR guy, so make sure you guys subscribe down below. I'll be interviewing them. But anyways, Claudia versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk finally came to an end. I was at Lion Fights, but I was able to watch the fights right here on my computer. And there was at one point in the tough finale where Khalil Roundtree, who was a fighter on The Ultimate Fighter, he was on his back, and his mother was screaming for her dear life. And I've been in sports for so long. My parents have always come to watch, and I've seen this. The parents will yell at you, and when you're a UFC fighter and you're on your back, and you hear your mom, like, "Oh my God, Mom, shut up!" But you would never say it though. You would never say, "Mom, shut up." We all caught him saying it, and it went viral.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he was getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
He's on his back against the cage. He's getting punched in the face, and he says, "Mom, shut up." He said it twice. That's hilarious.
I thought that was absolutely hilarious. And then,
Oh, yeah.
Claudia versus Joanna. Joanna kept the heat up, went all 5 rounds, and they had an amazing fight speech at the very end of it, where they literally came together and like, this is about the championship, but really it's about the sport and celebration of our sport. It's International Fight Week. They hugged it out and showed respect for one another. So I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, the camaraderie in MMA is top notch, by and large. I mean, yeah, you'll have a fighter here or there that or fighters here and there that don't care for each other even after they fight each other. But like I said, by and large, fighters come together in the cage, and that's just fantastic. I don't think you'll find it like that in any other sport.
And after a whole season of Ultimate Fighter, especially, their history in the past, and this season Ultimate Fighter, they had like a respect issue that whole season, and it was awesome to see them both get respect for one another. So right, that's the segue that we designed for us to get into 5 rounds in 5 minutes. Are you ready, Ted?
Oh, I'm ready, Eddie.
200. What was one of the fights that stood out to you on that card? And the clock starts now.
Well, hey, how can you not talk about Brock Lesnar? I'll say this right now, I even picked Mark Hunt to win. I thought Mark Hunt was going to get the knockoff, or the knockoff, the walk-off knockout. I thought he was going to get the walk-off knockout on Brock Lesnar. But Brock was able to take some of those punches, and you saw afterwards his face was all blown up, but he was able to absorb those punches and then work his game, the double leg takedowns and the ground and pound. And he did it, I mean, the beast is back. So that's the one that's one of the one. I mean, there were so many memorable fights, but that's one that stands out for me. How about you, Eddie?
Well, definitely the Brock Lesnar one was exciting. And, before I pick out my main card favorite fight, I just want to mention Sage Northcutt. We were talking about this before, how he was going to handle himself in this fight. He went in there against Enrique Marin. We were all, all eyes on Sage, really, because everyone likes to be like, oh, that's Dana's little puppet, blah, blah, blah. Was he ready to be in the UFC? And you know what? He lost that last fight. He got submitted by rear naked choke, I'm pretty sure. He came out to say it was his sore throat. So here, all eyes are on Sage, and he found himself in that same position, but this time in an arm bar. And his arm literally almost snapped in half, Ted. Literally.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he got out of the arm bar. He got out of a Kimura. I mean, this kid's made out of rubber. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I mean, the only person that comes to mind is Ben Henderson. Ben Henderson was able to do that, was very flexible, and was able to get out of submissions like that. So it kind of reminds me of him. I mean, Sage truly showed some heart in that fight. Twice we thought the guy was done, just done, and he came back from those submissions. So that was fantastic. I think he gained a lot of respect.
Oh yeah.
From fans and fellow fighters.
I mean, this was a big proving point. So now, he's 2-1 in the UFC. So now we can't say that he's not ready, because we've watched him, experience some amazing fights. Also on the card below Lesnar, this is now on the main card. Cain Velasquez came in and shocked us all once again. He is still one of the baddest men on the planet, and he definitely proved that by knocking out Travis Brown on the first fight on the main card. I thought that was absolutely amazing. What did you think about Cain's return, Ted?
Oh, I mean, this was one of the rare occasions where I successfully predicted a fight. But yeah, Cain won, and he is back as well. I mean, and speaking of backs, I mean, that was where he had that was where he had his injury, right? And he couldn't fight Fabricio Verdum. They were going to have a rematch so that we could see what Cain was like. We didn't have wasn't going to be C-level Cain. It was going to be regular Cain, the cardio king. Yeah. And but anyway, yeah. I mean, I thought he looked fantastic against Travis Brown in that fight, and I'm sure Ronda was disappointed. But I saw a photo of them. I think it was like a day or two later. They were walking around or whatever, and she was holding his hand, consoling him. But anyway, yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to see Travis Brown get beat because of the Matt Mitrione fight. They saw the way that he was, that he, broke the rules in poking Mitrione in the eye, and so I think a lot of people, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the beatdown.
Mitrione is actually fighting this weekend already.
Right, Bellator 158, I think it is in London.
Yeah, and he just fought too.
He did, but he got cleared. He got medically cleared.
I thought that was crazy. I don't know what they got going on at Bellator, where they have like a well of immortality over there to make sure these guys get right back in the ring somehow. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, I guess he didn't get hurt in that last fight, and so it's all systems go.
So honestly, right after Cain, we had Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar, and we were all at the edge of our seat. This was an instant classic, without a doubt. Edgar was pouring on the pressure the entire time. However, he just could not catch Aldo. And then there's that epic picture of Conor McGregor sitting there like this.
Yeah.
Like American Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
The fight went all 5 rounds in favor of Jose Aldo. How'd you have that fight going, Ted? And what did you think of Conor's picture?
Oh, I mean, the picture, like you said, epic.
Epic.
Just, wow. I mean, the death stare. That's what he had going on right there, was a death stare. But, yeah, I mean, I got to give props to Aldo. I've been critical of him in the past, and I didn't think he was going to win. I picked Edgar to win. But, Edgar, try as he did to get those takedowns, Aldo had him scouted. Aldo's takedown defense was unreal.
Yeah, out of like 8 takedowns, he defended them all, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I haven't seen that since like Alexander Gustafsson against John Jones, where he stuffed like 11 of 12 of John Jones's takedowns. Just unreal the way he was getting out of those. And I mean, the power punches versus it was the power Aldo's power punches versus Edgar's volume, but Edgar wasn't able to pour on that volume like he usually is. I mean, he was missing, and then Aldo was getting him with the power punches. So the judges had to weigh that out, but I think they did make the right decision.
Definitely. And after that fight. Sorry about that. After the fight,
what is that?
After the fight, we all realized, wow, this sets up one of the best rematches we might ever see. Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor. I can't wait. Right. And that picture was, if you've ever seen American Psycho, it was right out of that. It really was.
Oh yeah. That's a great movie, by the way, too.
Bateman? Oh, you don't mess with Bateman. But following that, we got into the Brock Lesnar fight versus Mark Hunt. Everyone wanted Hunt to knock Lesnar out. It was going to be a walk-off knockout. Lesnar really showed he is a beast and a freak of nature by, taking Hunt down. And those punches to Hunt's head, I thought were literally going to go through Hunt's head. And if you saw the pictures, from afterwards, he looked brutally beat.
Yeah. That's Hunt's coconut head, as Lesnar described.
But that got us into the main event, which of course was Amanda Nunes, now the new champion in that bantamweight division. We'll be talking about that in a little bit, about Ronda and what we think. Just to give you guys a quick lineup of the show, what we're going to be doing. Right now, you're watching Evil and Intoxicated. We're doing 5-minute rounds. We're about to talk about UFC being sold, actually. And we're going to be talking about matchmaking. Angie Jabs might join us for the game. We're going to talk about the Pure Evil polls. Evil and Intoxicated. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. We do the show every Wednesday. So let's talk about this. After that amazing weekend, Ted, we wake up to see the UFC got sold. How did that happen to you? How did you come about discovering this news?
I mean, it was all over everywhere. You couldn't help but see it. The thing is, we had been hearing about this for weeks, and it wasn't like, well, let me put it to you this way: it was from reliable sources. ESPN was reporting it, and they were telling us who the bidders were. So it was from reliable sources, and they were, I think I've said this before, and they were telling us who was looking at the UFC, and none of those people, to my knowledge, ever said, oh, wait a minute, you're incorrect on that. So that was, as a reporter, that kind of told me, that they were on the right track with this thing, even though the UFC was denying it.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. And we talked about this. They were denying this. Time after time again, we bring rumors to them, and they point to us like we're crazy, that we're just drama queens. Then we find out that the news is actually true.
Right. It was only a few days before, like right as fight week was happening. I think it was like July 6th, July 7th, somewhere in there. Dana and Lorenzo were interviewed, and they said, we own the UFC. We have not sold it. We own it. Okay? So, looking back on it, you go, oh, yeah, sure. They were taking the question literally. At that point in time, they had not sold the company. But apparently you had to phrase the question, are you currently in negotiations to sell the company? Nobody said it directly like that. So you got to get all lawyery on them or whatever. So they answered the question literally. I just had a feeling, that Dana White wasn't really telling the truth.
All right. Well, now the UFC is sold, and what changes do you think we're going to see? Is this good for our sport, or is it bad? My opinion is, this could potentially be good for our fighters in so many new areas. And Dana White is still president. What's your take on it, Ted? Because I'm a positive Phil.
Yeah, you're a glasses half full kind of guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, they had that email that they sent out to all the fighters, and they said, hey, you guys are still going to be number one. You're still going to be our main, top priority or whatever. And I said this in a video I did, which means, if you read between the lines, which actually means the fighters are going to be crap, going to be treated like crap as they have been, so they will be in the future. That's the way I read it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but geez, I mean, if you're talking pie in the sky, I would love for them for the new owners to come in and go, oh, hey, Reebok, you know that deal you had with the old owners? Yeah. That's gone. That's out of here. That's I mean, if I had my way, if there was any way to get out of that contract, that's what I would do. That's one thing, but. I don't know how it's going to go because, and I said this in a video, these guys, WMEIMG, that's the kind of the main owners. They represent fighters. They represent Cain Velasquez. They represent Chris Weidman. They represent Ronda Rousey. How are they going to work that? Isn't that a conflict of interest that they represent fighters who are then trying to get contracts with the company that they themselves own? How do you do that?
That is a little strange. That definitely is. But honestly, what changes do you think we're going to see other than outside the fighters? Is this going to bring in more money? Are they going to expand? I think the UFC's doing a great job with everything they had going. Honestly,
right. We might see more celebrities because they might try to pull in some of the guys that they represent. Like I think they also represent Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because he was pictured recently with the two top guys in this WMEIMG organization. So I think they represent him. So you could see more crossover with you might see more celebrities attending UFC events. I mean, we already do see them, and when they're in the crowd, the UFC makes a point to show us that they're in the crowd. Because they want to let you know, they want the general public to know, hey, really important, famous people like the UFC
are giving us their time of day. Yes.
Right. But I think we're going to see more of that because WME IMG is going to say, hey, come on over to the UFC, because we represent you, and we'll put you up for free, front row seats, blah, 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 blah. So we might see some of that. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't know when the Fox deal is over, but maybe they would jump to another network. Maybe they would jump to ESPN because they might have deep connections with ESPN. Or maybe they want to try to maybe they keep the contract with Fox and then try to get on Showtime or HBO, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something along those lines go on because WME IMG has got to have deep connections all over Hollywood, with all the talent that they represent in movies and TV and music, So, yeah, we could see some changes that way.
Definitely. So, all right, after the fights, we heard what Cowboy thought about DC versus Anderson Silva. And before we talk about that subject, I just want to make this really clear to everyone. That fight, DC taking that fight on short notice, Anderson Silva taking that fight on short notice, that was for us in celebration of UFC 200. That wasn't for us to judge their fight. That was a celebrational fight. That had nothing to do with, if Anderson Silva was taking it seriously and was doing this not as a celebration, he probably wouldn't have taken the fight on 48 hours notice when he was just going there for to sign autographs. And honestly, I did not like the crowd's reaction booing DC, taking Anderson Silva down, but then they didn't boo Brock Lesnar for taking Mark Hunt down. I mean, not as bad, at least.
Yeah, I mean, that's, geez, this can get that way. That the whole mob mentality, and sometimes they don't appreciate the ground game. I mean, I love both, the ground game and the stand up. Did they forget that that's what Daniel Cormier does? I mean, yeah, he does. He has clinch work that he does, which is stand up. But he's a wrestler. He's been a wrestler since he was like 5 years old or whatever. You know what I mean? So of course he's going to try to. And it's Anderson Silva you're talking about here. Still one of the most dangerous strikers in the world, even at age 41. So I expected that. I fully expected him to take Anderson Silva down. He's always been susceptible to the takedown. Whether it's Weidman or Chael Sonnen. You can take Anderson Silva down. So
if you're not a fan, if you're just starting to watch MMA and you're watching this, let me explain this to you. If you do not like the ground game, think of it like this. If you were in a fight and you're on your back, that is one of the positions you really don't want to get yourself stuck in. So think of it like that. Like, what are these guys doing to get out of this position that I can learn if I'm ever in this position? So Cowboy gave us all his thought on the fight, and he used a little profanity. People were mad. People were trying to back him up. What's your take on Cowboy saying this? Because in my opinion, he would say it just like I would say it, where it's not like I'm trying to hurt anyone's feelings. It's just, it's not racist. It's not. He didn't mean to be harmful to anyone, I should say. And it's just Cowboy, and that makes it even worse in a way because it's like a stereotype of, oh, a cowboy said it, So, what's your take on it? I mean, I don't think he meant to hurt anyone.
No, he definitely didn't. I don't think so either in his heart. He said the word fag, and because CM Punk of all people asked him, they were together on a stage. For those who didn't see it, they were together on a stage, and CM Punk said, "Hey, well, what was the fight you liked least in the UFC 200 lineup?" So a loaded question right there to begin with. And the other thing that you got to remember is Cerrone trains and is close with John Jones. Okay, that they're at Jackson Winklejohn together. So keep that in mind also. So he probably doesn't like Daniel Cormier very much. So he said Daniel Cormier versus Anderson Silva, and I guess CM Punk said why, and he said, well, because Daniel Cormier fought like a fag. And so, yeah, it's a loaded word. It's to a lot of people, it's a homophobic slur. I don't really believe that Cerrone meant it in that way. You know, that he meant to slur gay and lesbian and transgendered folks. I don't think he meant it in that way. Um, when he was a kid, and when I was a kid, when you were a kid, if you said that word, it just meant you were a pansy. You know, you were weak. That's all it meant. It didn't mean, you know, that you weren't saying it to be against homosexuals.
Yeah.
And for some people, you know, what you say in your childhood sticks with you as you get older, even if times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's a movie called Glengarry Glen Ross. All right, it's about real estate agents. Alec Baldwin delivers like the best speech in it. He's trying to get these guys, like it's Al Pacino and Jack Lemmon and a bunch of other people, Ed Harris. He's trying to motivate them to sell houses. Or, yeah, I think it's to sell houses. And he says, "You fucking faggots." Now, he's not calling them homosexual. He's just trying to motivate them. And he's saying, you know, if you don't sell, then you're weak.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it.
I have to agree with you, man. We all have that 8th grade lunchroom humor. And sometimes you don't realize that words still do offend people, whether we didn't mean it or we meant it. It's still hurtful to someone, and as long as you acknowledge that you made that mistake, like I didn't mean it like that way. I think that should be enough to cover you. The people should forgive you, and that's exactly what Cowboy kind of did.
He
So,
apologized.
also, since you were saying Cowboy is friends with John Jones, the biggest news, well, one of the biggest stories. John Bones, we found out what he tested positive for.
Right, according to Rashad Evans and according to Chael Sonnen. Right. I mean, hey, that guy's got some connections right there. It was estrogen blockers. So I did a little bit of research because, you know, I don't know much about steroids, performance-enhancing drugs, even though some of the guys on my YouTube channel like to call me TRT Ted. It's not true.
That's funny.
It's not true. But anyway, yeah, apparently, okay, so estrogen blockers are, banned substances by the USADA, by USADA. They're banned substances. And what it means is basically, well, when you take steroids, that brings your testosterone level actually down, I think, or once you get off of them. But it brings your estrogen level, which is a female hormone, it brings your estrogen level up. So what you do is you take and that's, sometimes what causes what people call bitch tits, right? Where a dude's chest starts to cone out like a woman's breasts.
Yeah.
So you take these estrogen blockers to stop the effects. You take these estrogen blockers to stop the effects that estrogen would have in giving you these bitch tits. That's what they got John Jones for. So the thinking, I think, is by USADA is, maybe we didn't get him for the steroids, but he wouldn't have been taking estrogen blockers had he not been taking steroids. And estrogen blockers are banned for a reason, because you wouldn't be taking them unless you were taking roids. So that's what they found in his system. Both the A sample and the B sample. So I don't know where he goes from here. He's looking at a 2-year ban, 2-year suspension, probably handed down by either the UFC or the Nevada State Athletic Commission, or both, or whatever, however they're going to work it. Probably retroactive to the date that he first tested positive, but that's still 2 years.
So the question is John Bones Jones gone?
I don't think he is. I don't think he's done. I don't. I mean, first of all, what the hell else is he going to do? No, I mean, he could be a wrestling coach.
Well, with the UFC, is his career finished? Because that's what Brandon Schaub, the headline of The Fighter and the Kid clip was, it's John Bones is done. And a lot of people are asking me, like, what's going on? Is this the truth? And I told him I would ask you, so...
No, I think oh my God. I mean, so he's not the number one moneymaker, but he is so dominant, and he is a moneymaker. Geez, I think the UFC will take. They'll just keep taking him back. I mean, I just can't see them saying, "Go ahead and go to Bellator or go to Ryzen or wherever. I just can't see them letting go of the guy. They're gonna, they'll say, hey, look, he did his time. He did his 2 year, or not time, but he served his suspension 2 years. They'll give him another chance. He'll do the mea culpa again. He'll do the one-on-one interview, and he'll say, this time I swear to you I'm clean. And
can I give you my conspiracy really quick? Can I give you my Eddie Bravo conspiracy on?
You got your tinfoil hat?
On what happened?
All right.
Here, let me eat a tab of acid really quick and get into this.
All right.
No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Here's what I was kind of thinking. If I was Eddie Bravo, because he comes up with some pretty cool conspiracies. And my name's Eddie too, so I was like, let me think of a conspiracy.
All right.
So what about this? What if Eddie Bravo. Sorry. The acid's kicking in. I'm sorry.
Yep.
But what if they were trying to make a point of John Bones? We watched him come back into the UFC. He was still kind of goofing around with DC and telling him to suck it, and we didn't really know if he was taking it seriously or not. So what if somebody maybe, I thought before the test came out, what if somebody maybe spiked his test results and tried to make a lesson out of him? I was thinking, but then of course the test results came back, and there's no way that could really happen. But I was thinking that could be the case, but we know that that's not true. But in my opinion, John Bones, like you said, there's no way he can be finished. He's one of the greatest. And that's another thing that everyone asking me. Could he be still called the greatest of all time, even though he had this history?
So a lot of questions there, Eddie. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, could he still be considered the greatest? You see, a lot of people are talking about. People are wondering. Okay, so if he in fact was doing steroids, how long has he been doing them? Because they say if you've been caught, the first time you're caught, that's not the first time you've done them. So chances are you've been doing them for a while, and then you get busted.
And
so people are wondering out there on the message boards, hey, maybe for most of his dominance, maybe for however many fights, I don't know how far back they were going, but they were saying, well, maybe for the past few years he's been on it, and so should he have an asterisk? I think we talked about this in the last show. Should he have an asterisk next to his name, like guys like Barry Bonds in baseball? Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire.
Stop. Wait, Ted. Before you say that, I have the updates of the pound for pound list. So I think that's a great topic because that goes into the pound for pound list. The 5-minute round is up, but we are going to talk about that in a second. Hold that thought because it's exactly what we're just about to talk about. Last, Hendo versus Bisping. The last round on the 5-minute rounds.
Yeah.
Hendo versus Bisping, of course, we found out is now official. We talked about this in the past. If you're just tuning in, you're watching Evil and Intoxicated. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, ProWrestling30.com. That guy in the box above me, that is the infamous Ted Czech. You can check his videos on YouTube. He's always giving everybody great updates of the latest news in MMA, his opinions. He has a lot of followers. Check him out. So we were asking you guys, Hendo versus Bisping. And now it's official.
It is UFC 204, which I believe is in Manchester, England. And I was watching a little clip of Bisping today, or maybe it wasn't filmed today, but recently on Fox Sports 1, where they were asking him. He's sitting up there. He's also a commentator, and so they asked him. People are criticizing this fight. They're saying there's no way you should be fighting old man Hendo. You should be fighting the real number one contender, Jacare Souza. And Bisping said, hey, look, he acknowledges it, that he got knocked out at UFC 100 by Hendo, and it's one of the most iconic knockouts in UFC history.
Oh, yeah.
So why on earth would he not want to avenge that? If you were Bisping, if I was Bisping, we would want to avenge that, right?
And especially since it's Dan Hendo's symbol.
Right, he's got that. He just debuted that new shirt where he's coming down with the hammer.
The H bomb.
Yeah, the H bomb or the Hendo hammer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So and Bisping mentioned that too. It's all over his shirts and his shorts and everything like that. So that's number one. Number two, Hendo's no spring chicken. He said, he's 46. He's the same age as me, and he says he's got one fight left. He's going to do one more fight. Bisping wants that one fight to be against him. I think he makes a perfect case for it. And I even tweeted out to somebody today. Somebody's like, "Oh, Jacare is number one. He's the rightful contender." And I said, but it's the money fight. You know the feud between Bisping and Hendo. You saw the way Hendo cut his eye at Bisping when Bisping actually used the word fag. Remember when he said that to who was that? The guy they just fought there, Luke Rockhold.
Luke Rockhold.
Oh, Luke Rockhold, a fag, and Hendo's like, dude, shut your mouth before I shut it for you. That's basically what he said with his eyes. So you've got that feud built up. I said that's the fight because it puts asses in the seats, and you're gonna get pay-per-view buys out of it. Jacare can wait. I said no personality, Jacare. I mean, what are you gonna do? He's just not exciting. I mean, he's a great, very skilled fighter, but this is the money fight. This is the fight to make right now. Jacare can wait.
And if you're looking at that chat room, shout out to Pat. Pat saying Hendo's gonna win it.
Whoa! See, I think Bisping is gonna get his revenge. I just think that Father Time is gonna catch up with Hendo, and Bisping is still on a roll, and he's gonna pick him apart. Pick him apart with his pillow-fisted punches. No. Actually, and Bisping's been working on his power. He's got a little bit more power than he used to have.
Definitely. And I don't know if you caught this, but definitely look it up on YouTube. After Smiling Sam Alvey's match last night, he went on his post-fight speech, and he was saying that he had a prediction that Dan Henderson was going to knock Bisping out, and he was going to be one of the people to defend the belt more than anyone ever. And then Smiling Sam Alvey was going to come and beat Henderson and take the belt. And Bisping, of course, was commentating, with Fox Sports 1, and he was like, "What? Did you really just say that, man?" And he got into it. So definitely check that out on YouTube. I thought it was funny. Smiling Sam Alvey, of course, just fought at the fights last night. This is a perfect segue to get into that. A lot of you were a little tired of the fights, however, and didn't have time to watch it or whatever might have happened. It was caught in the middle of our week, which is why we're doing the live stream today and not Wednesday. We usually do our live streams every Wednesday at 10 p.m. So this was an amazing card, I thought. It had so many great fights on it for a free card, especially.
Free is for me.
Free is for me. What did you think about this, Ted?
Well,
for the fights that you did see.
The fights that I did see, I'm going to be just upfront and honest here. I did not see all of them. Basically, I saw Louis Smolka versus Ben Wynn, and I did see Lineker versus McDonald. And so those, and I, of course, I'm familiar with the other one, Boach, Tim Boach, a guy who I interviewed back in.
Yes, I was thinking about that when he won too.
Yeah, he was. I just have to say briefly, I was working for one of the MMA magazines. I went up to his house, brought my family. His family was so hospitable. This is back when Tim Boach was training in a garage in his backyard, and his father-in-law was his coach.
Wow.
And his buddies from in town who had martial arts backgrounds were his training partners. And he was still, ripping dudes apart in the UFC. So that was a great time there, and it's great to see Tim get a win. Josh Salmon I like too, but every fight's got to have a winner and a loser, and Salmon just came out on the losing end by TKO. But yeah, Smolka and Wynn put on an absolute grappling clinic. It kind of reminded me of Kazushi Sakuraba versus, say, like Carlos Newton.
That was crazy, man. The way they were just like worms, literally. They were literally wrapping. I've never seen anything like that. Well, I have, but not in a while,
Right. I mean, the grappling rivaled, at least in terms of excitement, a lot of BJJ matches that you might see. I mean, just the counters, the sweeps, the submission attempts, the way that Win was getting out of those. Mainly it was Smolka applying the submissions and Win getting out of them. But yeah, it reminded me of a Kazushi Sakuraba fight. Maybe Sak against Royce Gracie, one of those. So very exciting. I mean, we should show that to people who don't like the ground game.
Yes. Yes.
Take a look at this, because you will like it after you see this.
Especially if you're in a situation like that.
Hmm.
Which I hope you never are in.
Right.
But even Murphy versus Chukagian. Chukagian just came into this into the UFC. She was just signed. This is one of the female fights. Murphy, her last fight, I forgot who she was fighting, but literally was punching and blood spurt right onto the camera during her fight. This was the last time she fought. Also, Chukagian is known for bloodying girls up in the past. Steve Reichel from Cage Side Submission sent me an amazing photo of one of her last fights. But the girls always put on some of the most amazing fights on any card. So congratulations for Chukagian. Also, on that card, Cody Pfister. Did you see that fight?
I missed that one.
Well, that was an amazing fight. He just lost to Sage Northcutt as well.
Oh, right.
But the most exciting fight that I took out of this was easily the Ferguson fight. Tony Ferguson took this fight, and originally, remember, it was supposed to be against Michael Chisay.
Right.
And that didn't happen. So we had somebody take the fight on short notice. We weren't really sure who he was. But dude,
Lando Venata.
I thought he was the Terminator, man. He was walking in there, and if you missed it, please check this out. He was walking in there, and he was just laying it down on Tony Ferguson, easily winning that first round. Let me know what you guys think. But he went in there and was shopping the world. And in a corner at the end of the first round, even his coach was like, you got this, dude. But Ferguson was eating punch after punch. He just couldn't find his flow. And Ferguson, in his corner, he was like, I can't let this happen. I can't. And then on the other guy's corner, they're like, shock the world. So then ding, 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 the second round starts, dude. And this dude just walks in there after Ferguson, just walking him down. Ferguson's like, is this dude crazy? So he gets up back to the fence, Superman punches him, and literally has his arm down, still walks him down. We were all like, no way.
This guy Venata doesn't even have his own Wikipedia page, but there were a lot of people on the message boards that were like, this guy's no joke. And he had a lot of people behind him and a lot of people picking him to win. But Ferguson finishing with the Darce choke.
Yeah,
and
once again.
Yeah, and that's his, if I'm not mistaken, that's his 8th win in a row.
Yep.
He's a lightweight, and that's his 8th win in a row. That is absolutely amazing.
Which brings up the question everyone's asking on Twitter: what's next for Tony Ferguson? Well, if you have that question, don't worry, because we're going to be talking about matchmaking in a couple of minutes. One thing I really thought was really cool about this guy, what's his name, Ted?
Lando Venata.
Definitely check him out, because when he was making his walkout, they were introducing him to everybody, and one thing that really stood out was his mental game they were talking about. He believes in, like Star Wars, there's the Force. We all believe in mental power, how you, where your head is at, going into a fight or whatever situation's at hand, and, mental toughness. And boy, did he show that he definitely believes in the Force. Because he ate a couple shots, man.
Yeah, that's a big part of sports is the mental game. People sometimes forget that, but the whole believe, conceive, achieve kind of thing, and just getting your mind straight, and because we talk about fighters taking up residence in other fighters' heads, free rent, rent free or whatever, that is just such a huge factor. I think I mentioned this before about GSP after his loss to Matt Serra, went and sought help from a sports psychologist. So it's so important. You know, well, who said it was like, was it Yogi Berra or no? No, it was Tim Sylvia. 90% of this game is half mental or something like that.
It is half funny. Which got us into the main event, Lineker. That was amazing.
Yeah. John Lineker and Michael McDonald.
Who did you have winning this fight?
Well, I mean, I thought McDonald could do it if he used his range, his height, his length, and also his takedowns. But he didn't do any of that. You know, and I don't know whether that was pride. You know, just like, hey, you know what? This Lineker guy is known as Hands of Stone, so I'm going to stand in the pocket and trade with him. I'm going to stand and bang with him. I'm kind of having difficulty wrapping my mind around that this was McDonald's game plan to stand and trade with the guy. Because, you know what I mean? You just don't do that with John Lineker. And I came up with a new nickname. Hands of Stone is a great nickname. I'm now calling him Tiny Tyson.
I like that.
You know, because he's a little guy, but he's like Mike Tyson.
He is a little guy, but definitely like Mike Tyson. Those punches. 58% of you thought that McDonald was going to win by decision. 42% of you thought that Lineker was going to win by knockout. So congratulations for everyone who did pick that. Definitely an amazing fight. If you didn't see definitely check the highlights out, because the Tony Ferguson fight was one of the ones that definitely stood out to me, without a doubt. So shout out to the new members of the Pure Evil MMA Army. There's Tetsuro, who's from Japan, Ted, all the way from Japan. Right? Him and his son Musashi, who is he just won a belt over in Japan. He's a young kid. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. Minion, of course, welcome to the Pure Evil Army. He's from France, Ted. Minion McGregor.
Is he really?
He's from France.
I thought he was Irish with the Mick.
I think he said he grew up in Dublin, and then right now he's living in France.
Okay, I mean, because his last name is it's a Mick, but then it's McGronion. It's kind of a mix.
Is that his last name? It's not McGregor, Minion McGregor?
I think it's McGronion.
Oh.
Because you got the G in there and then the NON. I don't know. He needs to pronounce it for us, because I think it's McGronion.
Definitely, we need to straighten that out. So definitely get back to us.
We can make it French sounding. McGronion.
Also, welcome Kate to the ProWrestlingAuthority.com and Pure Evil Army. Her just wrote about Ronda Rousey. So let's get into Ronda Rousey and everything that's going on in the world after UFC 200. Ronda Rousey, should she be able to get the immediate title shot?
Well, that's what they say. That's what we keep hearing, is that if she wants it, she's going to get it.
And here's the argument. Definitely check out Kate's article on ProWrestlingAuthority.com. She wraps up, give her idea about it. But this belt has been playing hot potato.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought on it?
Sure has. I mean, they say that Ronda, if she wants it, she can get the next shot against the new champ, Amanda Nunes. We just don't know. We don't know when she is coming back. I mean, we keep hearing like late fall or whatever. But what about Nunes instead taking on the winner of Holly Holm versus Shevchenko? Right. I think that might be a viable option.
Well, Shevchenko is just recently came into the UFC.
Right.
So I don't know about that, but Holly Holm is definitely deserving if she wins, definitely.
Oh, okay. So you see, yes for Holm, maybe not so much for Shevchenko. Even if she, let me put you this way: if she gets a decisive win, if she finishes Holly Holm,
that would be pretty impressive. However, I don't think that she would deserve it over Ronda Rousey. I really don't.
But what if Ronda's out of action? What if Ronda passes and says, "I'm not ready yet"?
Well, what about the Kat Zingano fight where Juliana Pena just won? I think Juliana Pena is more deserving.
Pena. That was another thing I read. Somebody suggesting Pena should get the winner of Holm versus Shevchenko.
And speaking of Shevchenko, I was just at Lion Fights 30, and I just met her sister. There's a picture of me right there in the right corner. There it goes, fading away. But I was able to take my picture with her right before she was granted the belt of Lion Fights.
Nice.
So congratulations, Shevchenko, and good luck to your sister who's going to be fighting Holly Holm coming up. We're all looking forward to that. I will be talking with Lion Fights and the president and a few fighters this weekend on Saturday. So make sure you subscribe down below. And you're going to be in for one heck of a treat. The new podcast is dropping tonight by the time this episode's over. So make sure you follow us on iTunes, ProWrestlingAuthority.com. Make sure to subscribe to Ted's channel. He keeps you guys all up to date. And make sure you visit us on every Wednesday where we meet up and discuss.
Yes, sir. Hey, we got to get this show on iTunes, Eddie. We got to do that.
We're talking about it, and I think that's an amazing idea because we have so much fun.
We got to broaden our horizons. You know what I'm saying? We got to explore more platforms, I think.
I totally agree, and you know what? I think we could be a great company for people on their way to work in the morning for their morning commute, whether they're at the gym and they're MMA fans. This is the show that you want to be listening to. This, your show and my show on iTunes. But if we meet them all together in one, we got something.
Yeah, man.
Got something. So I'm waiting for Angie Jabs to come in. We were going to get into the Dana White quote game. I'm waiting to see what kind of mood she is in. So I got my fingers crossed for that. So everyone just sit tight on that. If we don't get to it, we'll definitely have an amazing show next week with the game. I just don't want to get beat up tonight.
I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you.
Unless you guys in the chat room have questions for us, that's totally fine too. But here's what I wanted to talk about, Ted.
Yeah.
Pound for pound listed updates. None of the guys in the top 4, none of the guys in the top 5 actually fought, but yet there were some changes. From the top, Mighty Mouse is in first place. Number 2, Dominic Cruz. And third is now John Bones, who dropped from first to third. Is that fair for him to drop in the pound for pound ranks, even though he did not fight? His news had nothing to do with fighting. Is that fair?
Well, Minion had a question, had that very question for me this week.
Okay.
And so I answered him, but of course I'll answer you. I think they should leave John Jones where he is right now, because he has done nothing to warrant dropping 2 spaces. He hasn't fought, and he hasn't lost. So why would he drop? Same thing with Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse hasn't done anything to warrant him getting bumped up. But it changes, when and if the suspension is handed down. If the suspension is handed down, he gets a 2-year suspension. Pull him off of that entirely. So I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of guy. You know what I mean? Don't bump him down a couple notches like that. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. Keep him on there. Once you suspend him, remove him entirely.
There you go. I totally have to agree with you. I really do. Mighty Mouse went up one place. Dominic Cruz went up one place. Neither of those guys fought this weekend.
Right.
I thought that was pretty strange.
If
you guys can see it, here is the official ranking.
Well, see, Robbie Lawler's at 4. Robbie Lawler should be number 1, in my opinion.
I kind of have to agree. Then there's Conor McGregor, DC, Jose Aldo, Eddie Alvarez. Congratulations, making the pound for pound rankings at number 8, and now Joanna goes up 3 spaces to take on 9th, right above Stipe Miocic.
Nice. But yeah, Lawler's got my vote for number 1 right now. I mean, just the run that he's been on, the wars that he's been in, the level of competition that he's faced, I don't think can be matched.
I cannot wait for this next coming fight either, man. This is going to be a good one. Did you see the preview, the promo for it? The ashes, we all fall down promo?
Some of it.
Absolutely.
It wasn't that long, was it?
I saw some
like 30-second promo, and I'm saying some of it. Oh my God, what an idiot!
Some of it.
I'll watch it again. I'll watch it again. I know I'm going to watch it again.
So we had a poll we're going to get into the Pure Evil Army polls. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Find Ted on Twitter at Ted Czech. That is not CHECH. That is CZECH.
That's right.
So make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. I'm always doing polls. 69% of you polled in on this one question. And we asked this question last week on our show as well. I think that's why we got so many people asking or answering. What is UFC event of the year so far? Ted, the choices were Lawler vs. Condit, 1. 2, Nate vs. Connor. 3, Bisping vs. Rockhold. Or 4, UFC 200. What was the best card in your opinion out of those 4? And if you have another one, that I didn't list, bring it up.
Okay, because I think, was it 196? Was that the one with
Connor and Nate?
Connor and Nate? That was very good. Hold on, let me look something else up here real quick. Or you tell us what
Lawler and Condit, I thought was definitely in the running for Fight of the Year. It was one of the first fights to kick off our year. It was January 2nd. And they gave it their all in that fight. And once again, we almost watched, Lawler drop, Condit drop. And at the end of that fight, they were just hanging up over the cage. And they were absolutely exhausted, putting up a great fight. Then Nate versus Connor, I thought that was an amazing fight. Bisping versus Rockhold, that was a huge upset. The reason why I had to put that on there is because I didn't think Bisping was going to win it, but I had faith that he would. And what do you know? First round knockout.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I had to put UFC 200 on there because it's a celebration of our sport. So, Ted, did you find it before I announce the votes of what everyone thought?
Oh, I was trying to. Nah, you go right ahead, Eddie. I was thinking of something that happened last year.
Well, all right. Well, what was your favorite? What was your favorite card this year?
Shoot, tell me those again, man. I'm sorry.
Lawler vs. Condit, Nate vs. Connor, Bisping vs. Rockhold, or UFC 200?
Oh man.
I'll
I'll go with 200.
Yeah. You ranked in out of 70 people. UFC 200 came in last place for most exciting fight.
Last place.
Can you believe that? Everyone has been so mean about UFC 2. I don't know why. What all the hate's about. In second place, Bisping versus Rockhold. That got 22% of the votes. Third place, Lawler versus Condit, taking 25% of your votes. And in first place, Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz. Got 36% of the votes out of 70 people, Ted.
Well, wait, who else was on that card? Because
the Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor was Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate.
Yeah.
There was a couple really good fights. There was one fight in there, I forgot who it was, but it looked like Andrea's cousin Ray and her little brother fighting. And at one point, he was taunting him. He was like, hit me, hit me. Dude was like, all right, hits him, drops him, and knocks him out. I forgot what fight that was. But
who was that? I forget what fight that was, but I remember that. I don't know if I don't think it was at 196.
I'm actually positive that there was a fight on 190. That was that fight that I just said. But
yeah.
There has been fights in the past where people have done that and gotten rocked as well.
Oh yeah.
This was fun. This was, I think it was on a prelim fight. I'll definitely find it because it was comical. So another poll that we did for the Pure Evil Army and guys ranked in, I asked everybody, Bisping versus Hendo 2, make your pick. So Ted, what's your pick on this fight? Bisping versus Hendo 2.
Bisping versus Hendo 2, I'm going with Bisping. I think I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but yeah, I'm going with Bisping on this. I think it's his time now. You know, he talks about destiny, and I think it's still his time. And I think he's going to get his revenge on Hendo. I just think, I mean, Hendo's 46 years old. You know, Father Time's going to catch up with him. I mean, yeah, he's got that Hendo hammer or the H-bomb, but so he's got a puncher's chance, as they say. But I think Bisping is just too skilled on the feet. You know, his striking is on point, and he's going to pick him apart. I think he's actually going to punish Hendo. I think he's going to drag that fight out for like 5 rounds just to punish him. Like, hey, this is your payback for knocking me out. Maybe I can't knock you out, because you've got that great Hendo chin. So I'm just gonna pound on you for 5 rounds.
Well, here's my argument, Ted. And this was also my argument for why this fight should have taken place. I did my little research. We all complained about the UFC rankings on their site. We don't agree with a lot of them. And once again, the pound-for-pound rankings, it doesn't make sense why John Bones dropped. My argument is, if we look at the all-time rankings list, Anderson Silva is in first, and Dan Henderson is right below him in second place of the all-time middleweight rankings.
Okay.
Actually, they took all their stats, professionally had this done, stat by stat, and out of everyone ever in the UFC middleweight, Dan Henderson is second. What better person on his way out right now? We can say he's a little older. He should definitely get this fight. I mean, we all argued that the UFC rankings don't make sense. So for us to say that, and then to also say Hendo doesn't deserve this because he's ranked 13th, we can't really use that. We can use his age. But another thing is that we need to see this rematch happen, Ted. Bisping versus Hendo, come on, that was an exciting match. That was at UFC 100.
Right.
And you're saying Bisping's going to take it?
I am, absolutely.
I'm going to agree with you, too. Because, all right, let's look at Hendo's last fight. In his last, 6 fights, I think he only won about 2 of those. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I have to look it up here.
And then that last fight, he was going up against Hector Lombard, and he got rocked in that first round. However, he came back. And
that was a great knockout.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, if you go all the way back to 2011, the memorable fight with Shogun Rua, where they went 5 rounds and it was fight of the year at UFC 139. He then went on a 3-fight losing streak. Machida, Evans, and Belfort. Came back, beat Shogun again by TKO. Lost another 2 to Daniel Cormier and Gegard Mousasi, respectively. He beat Tim Boetsch, lost against Vitor Belfort, and then just now beat Hector Lombard. So that's really, since 2011, kind of a seesaw. Well, that's more losses than wins for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 losses and 3 wins.
You see, yeah, I was pretty right, man. What did I say? Out of 9 fights, right, or out of 6? Either way, I do think that this is perfect though, because now it's set in stone. We can't say Hendo doesn't deserve it. It's happening.
I mean, the UFC doesn't go by their rankings anyway. You know what I mean? They don't. They have fighters leapfrog over big groups of fighters all the time.
All the time.
Bellator is where it used to matter. Remember Bellator, how they used to have the tournaments, right?
I love when they do the tournaments.
So they had the tournaments, and whoever won the tournament was the automatic #1 contender. And they got the next title shot against the champion. And then if in that same weight division you had another tournament, and you had another winner, and that first winner hadn't even fought the champ yet, that the second winner would be right in the #2 slot. So that's where it mattered. But now Bellator's done away with that. And the rankings don't matter. It's the money that matters.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who does those rankings as well for UFC, because a lot of them really don't make sense. So all right, guys, you guys pulled in Bisping vs. Hendo 2. Make your pick. You made your picks. 33% thought Hendo was gonna win, making 67% going for the current champion, Michael Bisping. Who do you guys, this is going to be the next question for the UFC, or Evil Intoxicated poll, who do you guys want to see fight Bisping next if he does beat Hendo?
Oh, if he beats Hendo.
Ted, would you like to give us a little preview, a 20-second idea of who should fight Bisping?
Well, I mean,
should it be the Silva rematch?
Oh, Anderson Silva, you think? Huh. Jeez. I mean, he beat Anderson Silva. I mean, it was
controversially.
It was a decision. I mean, I think it was the correct decision.
Well,
But
because of that knee knockout and all that, and pointing to his mouth guard, people
yeah,
think he
no, no,
spit it out.
there's definitely controversy there for sure. I don't know. I mean, maybe if he can beat Hendo, maybe then it's time to get Jacare in there. Because I gotta say, I mean, Jacare has been pretty vocal about fighting Henderson or about fighting Bisping. So he seems to be gaining a little bit more personality. He seems to have kind of figured out, hey man, if I want this fight, I got to make a stink about it. I gotta yell and scream about this thing. So he's kind of slowly he's gaining a little bit in the personality department, and you couple that with the fact that he is a tremendous competitor, and I want to see this guy fight for the title because I'm interested to see how he would do. You know what I mean? He's been fighting for a long time, and he's really brought up. I mean, he's a BJJ guy, but he's brought up the wrestling and he's brought up the striking, so he's pretty well rounded. So yeah, I'd say after Henderson, fine, let Jacare have his shot because Bisping just got just beat Rockhold. Weidman's saying he should be the guy, but Weidman lost to Rockhold. You know what I mean? Weidman needs to get back in the win column.
I'm gonna agree.
Yeah, Weidman needs to get back in the win column before he gets the shot. He doesn't get an automatic shot.
And you know what? You're totally right. I shouldn't be calling Silva. I should be calling Jacare Souza. He definitely deserves this fight.
Yeah, I mean, Hendo's the fight to make right now. Then bring in Jacare.
I agree. So if Hendo loses, will he be retiring, Ted? Last question.
I think so. I mean, he said it. He said he's got one more fight in him. He's going to be 46 in August. He's made a lot of money. His legacy is secure, whether he wins or loses.
Definitely.
I mean, he won a couple of belts in Pride.
Beat Fedor.
Yep, and he was the Strikeforce champion. So his legacy is set. Financially, I don't know, but he's got other revenue streams going on there. So
And a real hot wife.
What's that?
And a really hot wife.
Yeah. So I think he's going to call it a career. Definitely.
And you know what? The reason why I brought that up is because he was talking about that before we were talking about him versus Bisping. He was talking about, this might be my last hurrah. So I would like to see him get this fight, and you know what? He got it. So, all right, guys. Anti-Jabs will not be joining us tonight, and I will be, which is good for you. I mean, not good for you, but good for me because I won't have a black eye later tonight. But definitely, next week we're going to be doing a new game that she's been working on. I guess she's not ready with it, and that's really why she didn't really want to do it, because she's trying to make this a really cool game, and I will be explaining this new game to everyone. I thought it was a great idea. A new little spin. It's more interactive with everybody. So next week, next Wednesday, 10 p.m., Evil and Intoxicated. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA. That's Ted Czech. We're going to get into weird and wacky news while we do our tag outs. So this is going to be the last segment of the show. We had a great show. Make sure to subscribe down below and follow us on Twitter. This segment was Ted's idea, actually, and I thought this was a great idea. Ted, would you like to explain what this segment's about?
Yeah, sure. It's just, me scouring the interwebs and finding something that, is somewhat MMA related, but, maybe doesn't fit into the usual UFC or Bellator or combat sports talk. It ties in with it, and it's kind of bizarre.
And if you guys have any of your own, definitely let us know, and we'll bring them up into the next show. Or if
Absolutely.
You're live in the chat room right now, definitely let us know. I want to give a shout out before we get into this to everybody who joined us tonight in the chat room. Thank you so much. Ted, do you have the chat room open? Can you thank whoever's in there?
Yes, sir. We got Minion, our old buddy Minion McGrognan.
Which we need to clear up.
And then who else was here? Pat was here.
Pat was here.
Pat back.
And the Pure Evil Army, of course, is, they sometimes they don't get in the chat room, but I'm sure they're watching. So definitely subscribe down below. If you guys have any questions for us, or if you're watching this and we're not live right now, definitely tune in next Wednesday, 10 p.m. Let's get into weird and wacky news. Ted?
Okay,
Ted with the news.
Yes, sir. The news. Yeah, that's. I don't know why I did that.
That's the old school news report.
There we go. That's right. All right, so there's a guy on YouTube. I hope I don't get him any fans by even mentioning his name, because he doesn't need any.
Oh, I forgot. This is a good one, guys. Listen to
that. Yeah, he doesn't deserve it. But there's a guy named Prophet Muscle who's out there, okay? And he has picked a fight with Rich Piana. Now, both of these guys are fake, if you ask me, because Rich Piana is so full of steroids and oil. I believe he actually injects his arms with synthol, which is an oil that bodybuilders use. Okay, so Rich Piana is this gigantic, like 6 foot, 300-pound, tattooed bodybuilder type dude. Prophet Muscle is a little sawed-off, 5'5", 135-pound dude who actually stuffs his shirts with other shirts, I guess.
So weird.
Stuffs his shirts, even stuffs his gut. He gives himself like a bigger gut as well, and he claims that he's an MMA champion, MMA fighter, and a bodybuilder. And he goes out and he accosts celebrities. He's got a camera crew with him, and he'll go up to, oh my God, like Phil Heath, who's Mr. Olympia, and he'll challenge them to fight. And of course, people are like, "Well, I don't want to fight this guy. He's insane." And number two, I'm on camera. Of course, I'm not going to fight this guy. And famous people have a lot to lose. You're not just going to fight some jabroni who approaches you on the street. But this guy, he has a really high-pitched voice, but when he gets in the studio and he remakes his videos, he gives himself a really low voice, a really tough guy voice, And his real name is Damon T. Dana. That's his name. Apparently, he's of Turkish. People have been telling me he's of Turkish descent by way of Germany. He's Turkish, but he grew up in Germany. Somehow made his way to the United States. Accosted Sylvester Stallone. Told Sylvester Stallone to stop using steroids and like threw a syringe at him.
No,
yeah,
did he really?
Yeah, but so he has challenged Rich Piana to an MMA fight, which is a total mismatch. But I don't know if it's ever going to happen. It would be the biggest freak show I've ever seen, bigger than anything in Pride. It would be like oh God, back to like the early UFC days when you had Emmanuel Yarborough fighting, that 600-pound sumo dude. You know what I mean? It's a freak show. Piana responded and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll fight you, or I can have my buddy fight you, and my buddy's only like 135 pounds, so that's more your size." But he responded, but now this Prophet Muscle guy I think he's kind of trying to get out of it, personally. But he did say, "Hey, let's fight in Las Vegas so that people can bet on it and we can make more money and put it on pay-per-view and whatever." I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Is he still going to go in with his stuffed shirt? Like, what?
Good
That's
question.
crazy.
Yeah. So that's insane, But he challenged him to an MMA fight.
What's this dude's name again? One more time so I can look it up, even though you don't want to promote him. I definitely got to check this out.
He goes by Prophet Muscle, but his real name there's a lot of people that have exposed him on YouTube. His real name is Damon T. Dana. So
definitely got to check that out. Did you have any is that the weird and wacky news, or do you have any MMA justice?
MMA justice, that's another new thing we're gonna do on occasion whenever we can, whenever we find a news item like this.
And just explain to everybody what that is exactly.
Yeah, this is an idea I came up with. MMA justice, meaning when somebody attempts to commit a crime or is in the process of committing a crime, and it just so happens that the person they run up against is an MMA fighter or somebody who has MMA training, or someone who has MMA training kind of steps in. So for this example, it was a video I saw on Facebook. It looked legitimate to me, that somebody just happened to have their camera going. I believe it happened in Boston. It happened in the fall, but the video was only just released. Okay, so you're on the streets of Boston. You got a U-Haul truck, bunch of guys probably helping somebody move or something like that, and this street thug is like giving them crap, like just yapping at them and distracting them and trying to be annoying. So finally, one of the guys that's unloading the truck, he's had enough. Puts down his box. Oh, you want some attention? Fine, I'll give you some attention. And he ends up, he gets close to the guy. Perfect double leg takedown. Boom! Right on the concrete or the asphalt. And then it's ground and pound city. Bang, bada, bang, bada, bang, bada, bang. And just knocks the guy out.
Is there a video of this?
There is a video.
Yes.
I don't know where. Oh, yeah. There's a video. It was on Facebook. I don't know. It's probably on YouTube. Maybe put in like U-Haul guy beats up thug or something like that.
If you find it, send it to me. I'll make a playlist of every week we can do our MMA Justice video clips.
Oh, nice.
That's a great idea, I thought.
Yeah.
Right?
So it happens from time to time. This kind of scenario. Another one was a guy, a Sri Lankan guy, who since moved to the United States. He was a clerk at a convenience store. 3 guys come in, try to rob the place. Little did they know, the guy behind the counter is an MMA fighter, and he kicked the crap out of him. So just stuff like that. I just love it. I'm a crime reporter, and so and of course a huge MMA fan. So to bring the two together, it's MMA Justice.
And Ted, I thought that was a very cool thing, and I don't know if you do want to talk about it, but if you do, feel free to let everyone know what you're now doing at work, because I definitely want to check that out.
Oh.
You do have a lot of followers, man, so I think this is a great cool thing to kind of see what you do every day. And I watch Forensic Files and ID all the time, and now I know somebody that's going to have their own show doing it online. So introduce this whole new idea and everything if you feel free to.
Oh yeah, it's just a little segment there. I work for the York Daily Record. That's when I'm not doing MMA. I'm a crime reporter. Been doing it for a long time, for just about 20 years. So I work for the York Daily Record. It's ydr.com, and so I'm mainly a writer. But the new thing they're having me do is a weekly video. It's really short, like maybe about 2 minutes, and I just it's like a weekly crime wrap up for the county, for York County, where I live and where I cover news. It's a county that's about 500,000 people, so about 500,000 people almost, and it's situated about an hour north of Baltimore, Maryland. So if you know where Baltimore, Maryland is, and you drive up north, you'll hit York County. So yeah, it's just a weekly crime wrap up, and this week it was a lot of bizarre news. But sometimes, it'll be dependent on the news. Whatever the news is, that will determine the show. So, yeah, it's just a little thing that they got me into, and just another way to get this ugly mug on camera,
Well, thank you everyone for listening tonight. We're actually just hit an hour, Ted. So maybe a little over an hour, but
a little bit.
An hour is, I think, a perfect length for the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. live right here on YouTube. So subscribe down below. If you guys have any segment ideas or any ideas, just send it our ways. We do a poll on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA and ProWrestling30.com. That up there is Ted Czech. Ted, can you tell everyone where they can find you, man?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, TEDCZECH. Videos most of the days during the week, so please come and check them out. Leave a comment, and hopefully I'll comment back.
Well, you're listening to Evil and Intoxicated. I had a great week between the UFC 200, this whole fight week, and then the fights last night. I was looking forward to this episode, so thank you very much, Ted. I will talk to you later, man. And Evil Eddie, I'm out. Ted, you're out.
I'm out too. Boom.
Everyone have a great night.